Well, Her Royal Highness Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, is about to be stripped of her official title. With King Charles on his way out, Prince William is expected to take over the crown. And apparently at the top of his list is to say, "Peace out, Meghan, you're done." And he plans to formally...
The most powerful institutions in Britain have finally lost their patience. For years, Meghan Markle has walked a tightrope between royal status and Hollywood celebrity. She left royal duties behind, but kept the titles. She stepped away from the crown, but never stopped using its influence. And while the monarchy stayed silent, the British public watched and grew restless. Ow, the silence is over. In a move that could permanently sever Meghan Markle's link to the royal family, the House of Lords has launched a formal petition to strip her of every remaining title. Not just Her Royal Highness, not just
title. Now, when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry decided to leave the royal family, they agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they would not use their official title, His Royal Highness or Her Royal Highness, in any commercial capacity. And despite that, Meghan has now readopted Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. But not only that...
Duchess of Sussex. Every single one. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in 2020, the agreement seemed clear. They would no longer use the HRH style, they would not carry out duties on behalf of the crown, and in return, they could pursue a private life, away from the relentless pressure of the monarchy. But private never quite meant silent. Despite the deal, Meghan continued to use her titles on book covers, production credits, podcast bios, even at celebrity events. And while the palace avoided confrontation, frustration quietly mounted inside Britain's most traditional circles. What had once been royal designation was now a marketing tool. The final straw came in the aftermath of the Sussexes' trip to Nigeria. Billed as a personal, cultural visit, the tour mimicked official royal engagements in everything but name. Public addresses, ceremonial dress, military receptions. It looked and felt like crown business, but it wasn't. Neither Buckingham Palace nor the Foreign Office had been informed. No diplomatic channels were involved, and for many in Parliament it crossed a line. The result? A formal petition in the House of Lords. Its aim...
If you're the Duke of Sussex or Duke and Duchess of Sussex, I just find it very uncomfortable, and I think a huge number of your viewers would agree, that you either respect the system, you have your titles, everyone sort of doffs their hat, especially in the US, you respect the system, you keep your titles, and either you play a positive role, as a lot of the royals do in this country, or you live quietly as individuals. But you can't trade and trash. You can't trade on your royal status whilst at the same time trashing it. And so I think, for me, I just think that's wrong.
To remove every title Meghan still holds. Legally, not symbolically, not out of vengeance, but out of principle. What once looked like a fresh start has slowly turned into a case study in how royal privilege can be rebranded and resold. After their departure, Meghan and Harry didn't just step into private life. They built an empire. Multi-million-dollar deals with Spotify, Netflix, and publishing houses were all marketed under the Sussex name. The royal crest vanished, but the implication didn't. Maya 2022 Netflix docuseries opened with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in formal royal script. Meghan's podcast Archetypes regularly referenced her time inside the monarchy, and promotional materials consistently leaned on her Duchess identity, despite the understanding that she would leave that behind. For the House of Lords, this was more than distasteful. It was a breach of
the publicly chosen royal family, the Beckhams. We've known Brooklyn since he was growing up, since he was a little baby, when Victoria was in the Spice Girls, David was at the top of his game playing for England. I mean, really, when there is a story about them, they are the front page of every newspaper here. So to give that a bit of context. And then, of course, David is now a patron with the King in a couple of his different ventures. Victoria is regularly seen and being invited to Buckingham Palace for various different...
Trust. The petition points to what it calls unauthorised commercial exploitation of a peerage title. British law, especially the Royal Titles Act of 1917, doesn't take lightly to nobles using their rank for business ventures. Titles are ceremonial, not commercial. And Meghan's use of hers, the petition argues, erodes the dignity of the honours system. This isn't a warning shot, it's a legislative escalation, and for the first time, lawmakers are treating the Duchess title not as a tradition, but as a legal liability. The moment that turned quiet frustration into political action didn't happen in Britain. It happened nearly 5,000 miles away. In May, Meghan and Harry touched down in Nigeria for what was publicly described as a cultural visit tied to the Invictus Games. But what unfolded looked uncannily like an official royal tour, minus the palace approval. Military escorts, speeches before dignitaries, ceremonial outfits, and media coverage that positioned the couple as representatives of British heritage. They posed for photos with senior officers, made statements about legacy and healing, and even participated in school visits and diplomatic-style receptions. For observers at home, especially inside Westminster, it felt staged. Not as a personal trip.
That's entirely up to them.
There were several other extraordinary moments, and here's the thing, Harry knows, he must know that there is a long-standing principle in the royal family that they don't air their dirty laundry in public. He knows that these sorts of comments would hurt the king. He knows that the media, yes, including GB News, picks up this sort of stuff and speculates upon it. He does it anyway for his own ego and his own self-gratification. Now, in times gone by, strong leaders in this country dealt with unruly...
But as a shadow monarchy in motion. Either Buckingham Palace nor the UK government had been consulted, no protocol was followed, and that's what alarmed the House of Lords. Their petition cites this visit as an example of unauthorised diplomatic posturing, a phrase that carries weight in legal and constitutional debates. The issue wasn't just style, it was substance. Meghan and Harry were behaving like royals without the accountability, risking confusion over British foreign policy and crown neutrality, and for lawmakers, that was unacceptable. During Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter tour stop in Los Angeles, Meghan was spotted laughing with friends in a VIP section. At one point, she turned to the camera, threw her arms in the air and shouted, "You know I'm Sussex now!" It was loud, it was casual, and it instantly exploded online. For fans, it may have been a playful moment. For the House of Lords, it was confirmation that the title, Duchess of Sussex, had become less of a noble designation and more of a branding slogan. The petition singles out this moment as a turning point, a public trivialization of royal status. Meghan had turned a centuries-old peerage into a concert punchline, and the message it sent, according to the Lords, was simple. Royal titles are up for grabs, for jokes, for marketing, for performance. Legal analysts have since pointed out that the misuse of royal styles in public media could be interpreted as a violation of existing protocol under the Royal Titles Act, especially when tied to commercial or public-facing platforms. In Parliament's view, that moment on camera didn't just go viral. It broke tradition and possibly the law. To understand why this petition matters, you have to understand what's really at stake. Royal titles aren't just decorative. They're legal instruments tied to the British peerage system. They're granted under the authority of the monarch, governed by centuries of precedent, and held in trust, not owned outright. They are meant to reflect service, not status. Duty, not branding. But in the years since stepping back, Meghan and Harry have blurred that line. Take the Spotify deal, now cancelled, where Meghan's Archetypes podcast repeatedly drew on her royal past for appeal. Or the Netflix documentary which opened with their titles and offered a polished narrative of palace life. Even their business foundation, Archewell, was initially launched under the name Sussex Royal until the Queen intervened and ordered a rebrand. The House of Lords calls this pattern what it is, monetizing monarchy. Their petition argues that Meghan and Harry's ventures aren't just storytelling. They're structured business models designed to trade on royal prestige, and in doing so, they've undermined the public trust in what these titles are supposed to represent. This isn't about whether Meghan deserves to succeed. It's about whether she should be allowed to profit off a title she no longer serves. And that's the line Parliament is preparing to enforce. Isn't just a feud inside Westminster, it's a reflection of something much larger, a shift in public mood that politicians can no longer ignore. According to a recent May 2025 YouGov poll, a staggering 77% of Britons now believe Meghan should lose her Duchess of Sussex title. That's not a slim margin, that's national consensus. What's more telling, the support cuts across political lines. Traditionalists, moderates, even younger demographics who once defended Meghan's modern take on royalty now view her as detached, opportunistic, and out of step with the role she once held. And Harry? He's not off the hook either. 61% of respondents believe his titles should also be revoked. But right now, all eyes are on Meghan. She's become the focal point of the frustration, the personification of a system many believe is being mocked in plain sight. And this petition isn't operating in a vacuum. It's a direct response to that anger. For the House of Lords, public trust in the honours system is crumbling. If titles can be used for private gain, political statements and viral soundbites without consequence, then what's the point of having them at all? For Parliament, the stakes are bigger than Meghan. They're about preserving the integrity of the crown, and the public seems ready to see them act. Meghan Markle's defenders have long argued that her outspokenness is a matter of personal truth, mental health, motherhood, racism. Topics once deemed taboo in royal circles are now at the centre of her brand. But Parliament isn't judging content, it's judging conduct, and the petition makes that distinction crystal clear. One of the most serious charges laid out is Meghan's repeated breach of royal communications protocol, a centuries-old convention meant to prevent royals from making unsanctioned political or personal statements, especially on international platforms. Her podcast Archetypes is listed by name in the Lord's Review. Across multiple episodes, Meghan invoked her time as a working royal to contextualize personal grievances. She described discriminatory experiences, implied palace indifference to mental health, and reignited racial controversy surrounding her son, all while still using the Duchess title publicly. To the public, these were bombshells. To the palace, they were off-limits. And to Parliament, they were more than controversial, they were damaging. The Lords argue that Meghan's commentary, made while still clinging to royal designation, caused diplomatic embarrassment to the institution and violated her responsibilities as a peerage holder. This isn't about silencing her story, it's about where and how that story is told, and whether a royal title should be attached to it at all. The most damning element of the petition isn't just Meghan's commentary, it's how she and Harry turned their royal status into a full-blown commercial operation. The House of Lords highlights a string of ventures that treated their titles not as ceremonial honours, but as intellectual property. Trademark applications for Sussex Royal, business proposals that framed the Duke and Duchess as global wellness figures, entire marketing campaigns launched on the back of a surname linked to monarchy, and, while some of these efforts were blocked, like the Queen's intervention in the Sussex Royal brand, many others went forward. Netflix, Spotify, book deals, public appearances, even speeches at paid events have leaned on the symbolism of nobility to command global attention. The Lords argue this is a dangerous precedent. If one can resign from duty but still profit off the uniform, then what prevents future peers from doing the same? Meghan's case isn't just about bad optics, it's about legal precedent and the erosion of centuries-old customs that separate monarchy from celebrity culture. To Parliament, the risk isn't just reputational, it's constitutional. The Duchess of Sussex title, once meant to honour service, has now become a brand with global reach and commercial weight. And in their eyes, that makes it a liability. And the petition's most forceful points strikes at the heart of Meghan's post-royal image. The idea that she continues to perform the role of a royal, without any of the responsibility that comes with it. During the Nigeria trip, Meghan wasn't just dressing the part. She was giving speeches about heritage, accepting honours, participating in ceremonial events, all while being introduced, covered and presented as the Duchess of Sussex. And yet, none of this was sanctioned by the monarchy. The House of Lords argues that this creates a dangerous ambiguity on the world stage. When foreign leaders see Meghan and Harry engaging in official-looking events, shaking hands with military figures and speaking on behalf of shared values, it blurs the line between state diplomacy and celebrity advocacy. That's why the petition refers to this behaviour as unauthorised representation. It isn't about etiquette, it's about constitutional integrity. The British Crown functions on neutrality. Royals don't pick political sides, they don't freelance foreign policy. And when someone unofficially assumes that role while still carrying the weight of a title, it risks sending the wrong message abroad. For the Lords, Meghan's conduct crossed that line. She acted like a working royal without being one. And now Parliament is preparing to make sure it doesn't happen again. The petition doesn't just question Meghan Markle's actions, it questions the future of royal accountability. By invoking her title in podcasts, parading it at international events and weaving it into her brand, Meghan has transformed a noble peerage into a media asset. And the House of Lords is drawing a line, one that could redefine how royal honours are protected moving forward. They're not acting out of personal grudge or public pressure. They're acting to preserve a system that relies on trust, restraint, and tradition. A system that only works if those who hold titles remember what those titles mean. If this petition succeeds, Meghan Markle will no longer be the Duchess of Sussex, not by family fallout, but by formal vote. And if that happens, it won't just mark the end of a royal chapter. It will be a warning to anyone who sees monarchy as a marketing tool. Titles are earned, and they can be taken back. The crown may have stayed silent, but Parliament has spoken, and for Meghan, the fairy tale may be over. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more breakdown like this.